What's up, everybody? Tanner here from the All You Can Hear podcast. Today, episode 94, we're going to be talking a little bit about some cosplay stuff. But first, let me introduce our regular cast with...
Cole.
Cody.
Wenzel.
It's Itachi B. Uchiha.
Whoa!
What the fuck?
Yo, got him.
I wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't either.
Crazy.
Wow, I don't know where Pat went. And we have two very special guests with us today, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Sarah Morris.
I'm Zero. You can just call me that.
And they are our cosplay experts, per se, besides Mr. Uchiha here, of course, who's in full cosplay.
Okay, he's not in cosplay. That's actually Itachi.
Oh, fuck.
Wait a minute, guys.
It's Pat!
Pat, you missed it. Itachi was here.
He'll come back around. Trust me.
How do you know?
Pat, I don't know how...
Itachi, Pat was just here.
This is what we talked. This was the morning of. We do a lot of visual bits on the podcast. No one will ever see.
No, this is, yeah.
So today, first off, we learned that trying to coordinate a podcast with 11 people a little difficult. So today, Sarah and Zero we'll be asking them stuff about cosplay. We've been wanting to actually do this episode for a little bit. And just, coincidence fell today, but they will be telling us about their cosplay, how they got into it, stuff like that. We'll just be asking a lot of questions.
Yeah, you will be.
I was told to be no math.
Well, there's a little math involved.
Yeah, we're a math-centric podcast.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, but it's hidden in the archives.
I do calculus at all times.
Yeah. There is a lot of
bamboozled.
Yeah, there's way more spreadsheets associated with this podcast than there should be.
There really is.
Actually, yeah, we do a lot of math.
There's a lot of fucking
We
spreadsheets.
have a
They
lot
really
of
like
fucking
data.
spreadsheets.
Yeah,
I love data.
Oh my god,
I love a good spreadsheet.
And
I spent
you're
2
the
hours
worst
on a
at
spreadsheet
math.
last night.
Yeah, we
That's
eat
why
it
I like
up.
spreadsheets, because I don't have to do math.
I mean, my major and minor are both essentially Excel, and Google Sheets.
I'm taking 5 of the same math classes. Exactly the same.
What does it even
I don't know what that meant.
Who knows?
One has a 2 in it.
So, Zero and Sarah, how about start off by telling us just a little how you actually got into cosplay? Like, what drew you to the community as a whole?
Oh man, well, I started in high school, and it was just through my friends kind of dragging me into it. I was interested in going to conventions, but I had 2 friends that were obsessed with this video game called Jet Set Radio Future.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we want you to be Rith. So Rith from Jet Set Radio Future was my first ever cosplay. I didn't even play the game, didn't know what it was. I was just doing it for my friends. But after that, I really enjoyed it. And so I started taking it more on and doing my own characters. And just over the years, got progressively more and more serious about it.
That's a super interesting, first cosplay.
Yeah, it's really weird and obscure.
Everyone's like, oh, I was Naruto. Or
That was so much better than mine.
I was...
I had the spray paint blue hair,
Was it Splat?
I don't remember what
It was
horrible, whatever it was.
That's because you whenever I think of first cosplay, I'm thinking, oh, I dressed up as Naruto, and I went and got an orange piece of cloth from Jones Fabric and took a blue Sharpie to it.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I always
first
think of something
cosplay.
pretty simple. That does not sound simple.
No, it was not simple. But I had been sewing and crafting on other things my whole life, so it was kind of easy to jump in and do it. My parents helped me, of course, because I was like, I don't know how to sew and pattern. And so there was help, but got me started.
Mine is kind of a similar story. My friends in high school were telling me about my first con, which was CamiCon, which is the upcoming con we're going to. And they wanted me to go as my first con. I didn't really know anything about cosplay or anything, and I was really into Star Wars at the time. So my first cosplay was a Sith OC. And it was just a bunch of old Halloween costumes I had lying around my house, and I just jumbled them all together.
Yes, Stormtrooper the Jedi. the long lost Old Republic character.
And I made my own lightsaber hilt. I went to Lowe's and got some chrome piping and stuck them all together and made a hilt. And that's when I also learned about doing cosplay in public with all the Lowe's employees coming to help me, thinking I have a piping or plumbing issue. I was like, no, I'm making a
I hate that.
lightsaber.
So just theoretically,
No, you
if I
cannot help me.
if I wanted to make a hilt out of this, just theoretically, I couldn't. So like I've obviously never cosplayed besides my headband I currently have around my throat.
Oh my God, it's Naruto.
Yeah, I don't know if you can't tell.
They've got Naruto and Itachi?
Yeah, they're both here in living flesh. So that's something I guess I've never really thought about is like, because I mean like you don't know, or I don't anyways. I don't know everything about like putting stuff together. So I couldn't imagine like going to like a craft store or something and being like, so I know most people use this for this, but I need to be this specific thing. How does this work? So I don't know. That's just something I've never really thought about with cosplay. It's just like, I guess the semantics behind it.
And it's so, I guess, surfaced now. There's forums. There's actually like cosplay dedicated shops online that
Yeah.
you can buy supplies for. Or it used to be, even before most people make armor out of EVA foam. That wasn't a thing back then. You took PVC pipe and cut that, heated up, and bent it. And made your armor. And it was heavy. And it was uncomfortable.
I think what Tanner's actually asking is, what do the people at Michael's think of you?
They're used to it at this point.
Yeah.
Just like I'm used to telling people at Lowe's, no, you can't help me. I'm looking for a very specific thing for a very specific purpose, and I don't want to tell you about it.
Do you think this lawnmower blade would make a good? I don't even know. I don't even know what you would use a lawnmower.
I'm trying to
blade
make a
Giant
katana.
shuriken from like Naruto.
for. Yeah, like one of the giant shurikens
Yeah.
from Naruto.
I wanna
You
do
should
that.
know that, Itachi. Come on now.
I want to
No,
get
that's
two
Pat.
long
Yeah, that's
Oh,
Itachi?
Yes, that
Who's
will not
Itachi?
be peacebound, con appropriate.
They'll have to take it from me. I got two lawnmower blades.
So in the old days, you could kind of get away with going into cons with real weapons. Can't do that anymore.
Like you're bad at hammer
You know, I really do think that's a good thing.
No, I'm just salty because over the summer I put actual metal nails in an actual wooden baseball bat and then was not allowed to bring it into the convention. But it's fine, you know.
Well, what if next time you just tie the little orange tags around each individual nail?
It still doesn't guarantee that I'm not gonna hit someone with it, I guess. So
Just put like the little covers you can get for like cat claws.
Yeah.
Just put
the
those
little
on there.
foam tips
Hey,
on all
think of the
nails.
bright side now. Yeah, you have a really good weapon.
I do. It's by my
just in case.
nightstand right now as we speak. So
I also have just a wooden bat I got from a Barons game like 12 years ago, but it's like that big. So that's my one.
Just to rewind for a minute, Tanner said that big, but he held out about 6 inches.
Yeah, it's about 6 inches long.
Between his thumb and his forefinger. See, that's what we're talking about, the visual
The
bits.
visual
earlier.
bits.
We
I
have
love
to
it,
go
though.
back and explain them.
Well, you can hear how long I said that and be like, oh, that was about a
that.
6 inch
That's
that.
Yeah. Because it took 6 seconds to say that, so yeah, 6 inches.
Yeah. It's a 1 second per inch.
Yeah.
So my next question. So we already know like what your first cosplays were and kind of, how they came about. I would like to know like, I guess what was it about cosplaying that took you to? Because I mean, obviously you both cosplay all the time. Like you have these Instagram pages, all that stuff. So what really took it to the next level? Because like there's been tons of stuff as a group. Like one of us have wanted to do, and we've been like, oh, okay, that was okay, but it's like you've both kind of dragged in it by friends, and then now you're like huge into it. So what was it about it that really brought you that made you love it so much?
yeah, I guess kind of going from like it just being an added experience at a convention, it just makes conventions so much more fun to participate in them in costume versus just like as yourself. But for me, the cartoon Legend of Korra, when it came out, seeing Korra and like the way that they animated her body, the style, her personality, I related to her so much. And I'd actually like gone out of cosplay for years while I was in college. I was kind of like repressing my nerdy side. And then I just happened to watch Korra and was like, I have to be this character. Like I have to bring her into the real world because she is so awesome that I want her to exist not just as an animated character. Like I want to make her real. I want to be her. And so from that, it was just like I fell in love with being really strong, badass characters, and here I am.
Today you're in a podcast in a kitchen.
Yeah,
It is a very nice kitchen.
very nice.
The funny thing is when you said
Cozy.
like let's kind of re-spark your love of cosplay. I was just thinking of the scene from John Wick where he just takes a hammer and breaks open his kitchen floor
Yeah,
instead of
basically
him bringing
that.
out guns, you
Yep.
just bring out all your
Yep.
cosplay.
She's
Like-
got her figures down
Now
there,
my
her
sewing
wall scrolls.
machine.
Yeah, I guess I've never really thought like how to me, like from an outsider's perspective, I always feel like when people cosplay, it's just like, oh, I could be that character really well. I never really think about how like animation as a whole, like you were talking about how Cora's like body moves and stuff. I've never really even thought of that being like, oh, I want to be this character.
Yeah, like with her, there's like a really cool, like just her whole creation. She was based off of like female athletes and specifically female MMA fighters is the inspiration behind Cora. And so the American artist of Cora actually had to go back to the Korean animation studio and say, no, you don't understand. You have to redraw her because she's not muscular enough. Like they were making her like normal female characters would look. And they were like, no, we want like a built, ripped female athlete character. And like just seeing that so beautifully animated and like she was just so strong and cool. And I'd never seen something like that before. It was like, I want to like honor this, so.
That's awesome. Maybe I should cosplay Cora.
I think we should all cosplay.
I think you need a cosplay. Can we all just go as Coras? And maybe like the Power Rangers version of Coras, where we all have a different colored outfit on.
Oh,
The different elements.
That'd be badass.
I didn't even think of that, but yes, different.
No, just colors.
Just colors.
Just colors. He's the orange one. What's his element?
Oh, you're dressed in blue. That must be water. No.
no.
It's still water, but it's just
Blue.
orange water. Yeah, he bends sun kiss.
Fanta.
No.
Phantom.
Excuse me. Tang.
Truly a weapon to beat Metal Gear.
I was gonna ask, and I'm trying not to cough as I'm asking this, so I am dying right now. But
Don't worry, Cody will edit out all his calls.
No.
Timestamp now.
But I guess one of the things when you're talking about Core, when you're talking about specifically that sort of the animation style, and you're even talking about some of the background knowledge about it, like how much of a deep dive do you do on a character whenever you are creating a cosplay?
I mean, yeah, for me, it's like I'm not really interested in cosplaying characters just because they're popular. Like, for me, if I'm going to spend this much time and money and energy and blood and tears and sweat, like, I want it to be a character that really resonates with me. And so I like knowing, like, everything about the character, their creation, like, the whole process of, making stories is just really interesting to me as well. And that kind of factors into cosplay and you, like, bringing that character to life in as many ways as you can.
Going off that whole idea of like the character and the story building, what character have you done cosplayed that was so much different than what you would say is your IRL personality? Like what have you done that's just so out of character for you, but you love doing it, or maybe hated doing it? I don't know.
Oh, man.
The cat.
Shut up, we're not talking about... Hey, I like the Cheshire Cat, okay? I relate to the Cheshire Cat. She's referring to one of my cringy cosplays from high school.
That's just
Actually,
Halloween.
a Halloween costume. It wasn't even a cosplay. It was cat ears and cat tail that I made. And then I tried to bring it out last year at Dragon Con, and it was not a good idea. And he will not let me forget it.
And Dustin, I know you do Junkrat a lot from Overwatch.
I do. That's my best known cosplay.
What made you want to do Junkrat? Was it just the design? Did you see that you felt that you connected with a design, or did you feel like, personality wise maybe? Like, what made you want to go ahead and do Junkrat? Because yours, it's great, it's fantastic, and I thought whenever I see it, I'm just like, fuck,
That's Junkrat.
like that's Junkrat.
Well, thank you. A little bit of everything, really. I mean, when I first booted up Overwatch and I looked at all the characters, and Junkrat was really the one that stood out to me the most. And I was like, well, who's this half burnt, half torn apart guy with a tire on his back? And then I found out he was Australian, which ever since a little kid, I've just had a fascination with Australia. And I think it all really started with Steve Irwin, of course. And
Rest in peace.
rest in peace. And it was a game for the GameCube called Ty the Tasmanian Tiger.
Oh my god, yeah.
Which is just every Australian stereotype you can crammed into a fun-packed platformer. And it got to me where I would try to do the voice and all that stuff. And that was kind of my reintroduction to cosplay as well. I kind of got out of it for a few years, and just seeing Junkrat, just seeing this really cool, crazy character, and plus he was also Australian, so I got to do an Australian accent. And also, kind of like her with the animation, just Junkrat's kind of body language in games, he's hunched over, he shivers a little bit whenever he talks.
Yeah, and so you chose those animations, and it was just something that you could do.
I could see myself doing that and having fun with it. Because cosplay, more for me, is I like to role play. I like to become that character for a full weekend and just stop being myself.
Yeah. That's actually the kind of the coolest part to me about cosplay is seeing these people who, you have, of course, people who walk around cons, and they're just like, hey, it's me, Joe, and I'm in the Sakura costume. I don't know why Joe would be Sakura, but it's like it's like, wow, it's a great costume, but where's Sakura? But then you have the people who, even if their costume, I say it's not up to par, but it's not as good as what you might see. As long as the personality's there, that costume shines through, right? Yeah. And you see those people who cosplay, who actually play that character. I don't know. I think that's great. I love that.
Yeah, I remember when we went to Comic-Con a few years ago, 6 years ago.
Hold on. Cody just coughed right all over my fucking hand. Jesus.
I saw him cough, and then he looked at you, and then he looked at the table and hunched. And I was like, is he joking?
My hair was blown back. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm dying.
A few years ago, we went to Comic-Con. This was 2013, because Cody and I were like, we need con practice, because we went to PAX East a few years, again, 6 years ago now. So we went to Comic-Con. I remember one cosplayer still sticks out in my head. Do you remember the person, or maybe it was multiple people in the costume? I don't know. Well, it was a full-ass Ninetales.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I do. Oh, my God.
Walking,
yes.
Full size, all the tails were moving, the glowing eyes. And I remember seeing this. I'm like, first off, I was like, how fucking long did it take you to make that? And B, I was like, how much did it cost to make that?
Oh, no, that was a real Ninetales.
You could have convinced me.
We have a Ninetales problem in
I'm
Alabama.
fairly sure that it was one person on 4 stilts, bent over, walking around.
It was huge. Like a big ass dog walking around. I don't know how else to describe it. It was like, if Ninetales were real, this is what it was. And that always stuck out to me. And they didn't talk. People would be like, oh, can we get a picture? And the Ninetales would pose, but you wouldn't hear oh, thanks for liking my cosplay, because that person was Ninetales. I always thought that was neat, because
they had their mouth duct taped.
Yeah.
I'm in character.
One of the more interesting things that happened to me at I think it was at Comic-Con I took two pictures of two different Yu-Gi-Ohs. Or Yu-Gis, not Yu-Gi-Ohs. Two pictures of two different Yu-Gis. And I met both of those people at separate times in Tuscaloosa. So, I met those two people. I was like, I know you from somewhere. Wow. And, it wasn't just out in public. I wasn't just like, were you Yugi back? I don't have that level of memory, but I met them and I knew them through people that I knew, and I was like, I remember you from somewhere, and they're like, I don't remember you. I'm like, well, I remember you, and I went back and looked through my Comic-Con photos from that time period, and I found these two pictures. I'm like, oh my God, that's so and so. That's so and so. And I had taken because the same year I'd taken two pictures of two different Yugis, and I both met them within 6 months of each other.
Wow.
In real life. That was so weird for me.
That's crazy.
It was the heart of the cards.
Yep.
I say, did you duel on the street when you met them?
I almost did. I do keep at least 3 Yu-Gi-Oh decks in my card at all times.
You say that used to be true.
It used to be true. I used to keep Pokemon cards in my car as well as Magic the Gathering. So I was ready to duel.
Well, my senior year in high school, I had my deck with me at all times.
You never know when you have to send somebody's ass to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah.
You never know.
There's one right next to my bed.
A Shadow Realm or a deck?
A deck.
Both.
You gotta stay strapped.
It's like, Dad, there's a giant portal to an evil dimension. We got to do something about this.
He's like, just throw your trash in it.
What I love about Yu-Gi-Oh, though, just to go on a little tangent real quick, since we're on the subject, the Shadow Realm was actually them going to hell. Like, in the original Japanese, they were dying going to hell. They were sending their asses to hell. So every time Yugi defeated somebody for just being like, oh, no, you cheated in this card game, Yugi sent them to fucking hell. So, just a reminder, Yugi's stronger than Shaggy. But that's just me.
Whoa! Well, that's a huge
shots
assumption.
Not
Tall
cool,
words.
man.
Tall words.
I remember, since we're talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! And cosplay, this kind of fits.
I went to the Yu-Gi-Oh podcast.
Yeah. For I must have been like 5 or 6 or something. But anyways, my mom for Halloween bought me a full-ass Yugi costume. It had the little pyramid thing necklace, the whole purple, blue suit, whatever, and the spiky hair. And I remember that's what I was going to wear for Halloween. And then we went over to my grandma's house because she wanted to see it for some reason. And the cat that she had at the time destroyed the wig. It was made of plastic and rubber.
I was gonna ask, like, was it one of those like where it's a mask except it's for your hair
Yes,
instead of your face?
it was
Okay,
a
yeah.
mask for my hair, and the cat was so terrified of it, it just tore it to pieces.
Makes sense.
And I remember I was so pissed off at that cat. I'm like, that fucking Kiki. You
It
know?
was self-defense.
I was so mad.
I need it. There are pictures of you in this.
Oh, there's absolutely pictures of me in this
Please,
costume.
can we get them out?
I would have to find them, but I know there's probably even a home tape of me in that video.
Oh,
or
my
in
God.
that
I
costume.
need you saying.
We need a data
Sounded
extract.
ridiculous.
Oh, and I had a dual disc too.
I still have my.
I still have my dual
I have
disc.
mine
Yeah.
it's in my younger brother's closet.
Damn, I
but
don't know
yeah.
what happened to mine. Oh, it makes me sad.
Well,
Stay tuned for the bonus show. After the podcast where we do
we just fucking.
We've been trying to get together to do a Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel stream, and it's been so frustrating. Because I'm ready.
You ever need a Blue Eyes deck? Just let me know.
Anywho, what were we talking about again?
Cosplay? Yeah, something.
I had a question. When you find a character that you want to do, what is typically your process in setting out from going from like concept to creation?
Yeah.
I mean, I know each process is different, but like, just what is sort of literally the trajectory of a costume?
So many steps. I was actually just talking to one of my friends about this because she's wanting to make a Kirby costume, which is going to be super cute. But
That seems like super easy at first, but the more I think about it,
nothing is easy in cosplay.
I feel like I'm terrified of the idea of dressing up as Kirby.
Yeah.
Man. Yes, but generally, like, I'll like take it easy at first and just lounge on the couch and like save like several hundred Google image reference photos of like any little like detail that I can think of. Then I'll look at other cosplayers that have already done that character and like kind of like think to myself what I like that they did or what I don't like as far as what materials they used, how the overall costume comes off. And then I do the super fun part of going to buy materials, which will then sit on the shelf for like a month while I avoid making anything.
Boy, someone should do something with that.
And then you just start making. Like, you got to start somewhere, and usually it's forcing yourself to go to your workplace and pick something up and stop being afraid of cutting it into little pieces.
Yeah, that was one of the that's an interesting thing I just started thinking about was just like how do you get, I mean, do you do a cost analysis of it all, like up
Try
front?
not to.
Try not to, because like I'm sitting here thinking like
I would never do it if I actually
Yeah,
did that, I think.
because it feels like I would get halfway into something, I'd be like, fuck me, I'm about 500 deep in this, and I don't have my dual disc yet.
Ignorance is bliss. I kind of like go off of this like general feeling I have of like, okay, you've spent too much money. You need to start going the cheap route now. Like, there's things that I will be cheap on, and then there's things that I will be like spare no expense on. So
It's funny that you mentioned that because that's actually a fairly common question that I personally have gotten at cons when I'm like with Junkrat. I was like, usually the first question is, how long did it take to make that? And usually about 90% of the time, the follow-up question is, how much did it cost to make that?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
Don't ask.
I don't want to know.
Exactly. I don't want to know how much
plead
time
the
I
fifth.
spent on this or how much money.
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people look at any hobby and they're like, well, how much money am I going to have to spend on this hobby? I mean, I definitely do that with any of my hobbies, and most
Do
of
that
my
with podcasting.
yeah, we did that with podcasting. I was like, okay, well, you can make an initial investment of this much, and then boom, we're done for the next like 3 years, and that's what we did. But with cosplay, it seems like you could say, okay, well, I budget out 500, or I say 500 is a very lofty budget.
Yes.
I feel like
That would be a pretty
but, like,
entailed cost.
yeah. So let's say 200 then, but then all of a sudden you're like, well, shit, it's not as detailed as I want it to be. I need to go back and get something else, or this material's
There's a lot
not
of that.
working. So suddenly, or this material looks almost fake in a way. Just something.
Yeah.
Just you end up. It feels like it's, and you constantly improve. That's the other question. Do you constantly improve those cosplays over
definitely.
time, or
Yes.
like is it it's not just like, okay, well, I'm done with this, time for me to move on, or do you have to go back and
Yeah, I
kind of
think
readjust
for
things over
everyone
time?
that's like a little different. Like for me, the biggest thing is I won't finish the entire costume by a certain point, so I'll get like the majority of it done, and then I'll go back and add in the accessories or the things that weren't 100% necessary for me to wear it to a convention. So I will constantly add to it that way. But like I was saying, with the images that I collect, and I also go on YouTube and watch tutorial after tutorial, and so it's just a ton of research before I ever pick up material. Mainly because I don't like wasting material and having to buy more. So for me, it's like generally I can make it work out where I'm not like having to go back and redo too much, because that's just my personality. I hate redundant things, and so I'm like, nope, this is like one shot. We're gonna do it.
I mean, I'm in the process. Well, not in the process right now, but later this year I will be doing like a heavy rehaul of my junk rat, just because I've learned a lot about cosplay just within the past year. That new peg leg, I'm gonna redo the tire actually. Gonna try to do that wig for the third time, and actually make the shorts because I've learned how to sew this year.
Oh.
Thanks to her.
See, that's something with cosplay. I think a lot of people, or like, again, from an outside looking in perspective, are like, oh, cosplay's your hobby. It's like, yeah, cosplay's kind of my hobby, but also to be an effective cosplayer, you have to know how to plan and to manage and to, like sew. Like, you're learning how to sew. Like, that's a lifelong skill for some people. And you're like, oh, I need to learn this so I can cosplay better. So it's like, it's multiple other things and hobbies and research, like, feeding into this one. Like, I don't know.
It's so many things. That's
Yeah.
why it's so cool, because there's always something else that you can learn. Like with every new costume that I do, I try and work in another material. Like I'm going to do LEDs for the first time, or I'm going to cast resin for the first time. And so with every costume, you kind of are adding another skill to your repertoire so that in the future you'll have that under your belt, and your costumes just become more and more intricate and elaborate. And looking at a costume and problem solving your way through how am I going to create that becomes less and less intimidating, because you can look at it and be like, oh, I'll use this material for that part, this material for that part. Whereas if you're just starting out, you're like, I don't even know where I would start. And the key is that you just have to start.
Yeah.
Because like cosplay, it's an art as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you are, I mean, it's like, because of the way we were talking about it is you are spending so much time sculpting this suit, this and that doesn't even include the personality aspects and the actual research that goes into the character itself, but just like the costume itself, it's an art form. And it's not just an art form. Like if I were to learn how to paint and as a hobby, right, yeah, it's a hobby and it's art, but it doesn't necessarily I'm going to show it off. This is something that at the end of it all, you don't have to, but you're more than likely going to go and show people, and you're going to put on display, and you are going to be and I know, like, me personally, I don't know if it's a bad habit or if it's just a common habit or what, but whenever I'm going to Comic-Con or go to any sort of convention, I'm looking at these different costumes, and as I'm going along, I'm like, well, that one's better than that one, and this one. So you're in competition with everyone else, I would feel like, to some degree. And so I don't know. I think it's wild. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of everything.
It is because you definitely want to be the best, and like I am very competitive, but I also have over the years tried to get away from comparing myself to others, because you might see someone and think like, oh, my costume is better crafted than them or whatever, but you don't know what stage that could be their first costume, and that's like amazing that they got into cosplay and like they made that. That's awesome. And it doesn't matter if yours came out better. You've maybe been doing it for longer. You're just more meticulous, but they have things that they can do that you probably can't as well, and you just don't know that. And then on the other side of that, if you compare yourself to other cosplayers, there's always going to be someone better than you too. And the danger in that is, oh, well, they're so good. Why should I even try? Versus, looking at them and being like, wow, they're so good. I want to be like that too. And using them as inspiration and motivation. And so kind of like using the competitiveness within yourself to push yourself to be the best you can be, so that when you do wear that piece of art that you made and you put it on your body and take it out in public to show people and share it with everyone at the convention, you want to be able to feel proud of it and feel like, I pushed myself. I did my best. I didn't, back down or let this intimidate me. And so, it's really about like making something to the best of your abilities.
What you said earlier about using inspiration, using motivation. Who are cosplayers that you sort of hold up as like, these are my inspirations, as to like what maybe what you want to get started, like who wants to who are like the cosplay goals, like, okay, this is the level I would like to be at one day.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I guess back in like my early days, I didn't really realize that there were a bunch of cosplayers out there that were just like super high level, and then there came along this one that just blew my mind, and I didn't even know who she was as a person or anything. I just saw pictures of her on like Google Images or whatever, and her name is Svetlana Quint. She's Russian who lives in Germany. She goes by the name Kamui Cosplay, and like, she is famous for her Warbla builds from World of Warcraft, and they're just like gorgeous, amazing. She like kind of pioneered using Warbla for armor builds, and like so much detail, so beautiful. She's like my absolute favorite cosplayer. He knows I'm like obsessed with her. He calls her my wife.
Books for birthday.
Yes, and I cried. But she's just, her personality is great too. I actually got to see her in person at Dragon Con a few years ago. She was in an armor building panel, and I'll never forget, like, my favorite thing that she has ever said was a girl stood up and asked her, how, when you're making female armor, how do you get the and she kind of had her hands like around her chest and was like hesitating, and Kamui just goes, oh, the boobies? And the girl's like, yes. And she's like, oh, well, when I pattern the boobies, I do this. So she was telling her how to make a round form out of like a flat material, and like, after that, it was just like, I love you. Like, you're amazing. And she's just very oriented around sharing her knowledge with the community and helping everyone to get better, which is really, really cool. And she's also just amazingly talented.
Yeah, I turning a flat object into a round object. I see cosplay do it all the time. Cosplayers do it all the time, and I'm just like, that's black magic.
That shouldn't even be possible.
We sold our souls. The devil, I mean.
I try to bend a piece of paper in like several different ways, and next thing you know, I got a crumpled ball of paper in my hand. So
hey, it's round.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Zero, how about you? Do you have any like inspirations in the cosplay community? I know you joked like, I got to pull out the spreadsheet. So
Yeah, I have two that really come to mind. The first one is the girl that actually inspired me to actually go forth and try Junkrat. And her name is Baka Cosplay, German, like your wife.
German cosplayers.
She is probably one of the best wig cosplay transform artists that I've ever seen. Like, she put LEDs and smoke in her Junkrat wig, and it's fantastic. Along with her is another Ubers cosplay, who does the best giant mecha cosplays I've ever seen in my life. I actually met him at, was it Florida SuperCon? In Florida, and he was wearing a Gundam Mark II cosplay.
Oh, wow.
And it was already impressive enough, but then he started taking it off and told us how he transported between cons. The entire Gundam cosplay breaks down into small pieces, and he can put it in the backpack of the Gundam.
Oh,
and
wow.
that's how he
Which is like the size of a large suitcase.
Yes.
That is cool.
It's about maybe maybe a quarter size of this table.
Yeah.
Helmet and everything.
Wow.
I'm just like,
so he's a genius engineer.
he is a genius engineer.
That's something else. Like, especially if you go to like these conventions, across the country or even to other states, like transport. Or we're all about to go to Comic-Con. Like that's in Birmingham. You still have to transport your stuff like an hour or whatever. Like that seems logistically a nightmare for me. Like I'm very anal with my planning, so like I couldn't imagine.
Yeah,
being,
you are.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being like, how do I get? Especially if you were like a mech or something. Like, how do I get this giant robot in my car?
Or how do you get on a plane?
Or a plane, especially. Yeah.
There's one that blew my mind. Last year at Comic-Con, there was a fellow who did like a life-size Reinhardt with the hammer and armor, or he had the hammer. He said he's working on the armor, just like the logistics of like putting that together and like transporting it. 'Cause I've seen sort of the cosplay horror stories. Like there's what I told the boys a while back. There's a girl who was at a convention who did like Yuna from Final Fantasy X too, like lovingly made dress, hand stitched feathers on the skirt, but it got caught in an elevator and it ripped as it went up, and just, like everybody in the building just like felt their soul leave their body. So like just like I can imagine like what are some of like the nervous parts that go into making like into traveling into making like. It's like, and how do you like circumvent sort of these sort of like problems?
I think it takes like riding 12 hours in a car jammed packed full of cosplay armor, like that, so full that you have cosplay in your lap for the entire drive, like to realize I need to figure out
My root tire sat in my lap all the way
way.
to Atlanta.
But it's you just kind of learn as you go, and sometimes it means if you're traveling you have to strategically pick which costumes you're gonna bring. Am I gonna bring a more sewing heavy costume along with this big armor, because 2 big boxes full of armor aren't gonna fit in my car with the 4 other people riding with me. So it's just kind of making hard decisions.
I think it's kind of cool that you can get to a point to where it's like, oh god, let's see, this convention is going to be in the summertime. Got to bring my summertime cosplay. That you have these different cosplays depending on the time of year. And I don't know. I think that's super, super cool. But yeah.
It's funny you bring that one up. I actually want to chime in on that. Last year I made the great mistake of wearing Junkrat in the coldest part of the year. And I froze to death.
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to be shirtless.
Yeah.
And I'm over here in my Tracer, like, padded leather fleece line jacket. Like, I'm so comfy.
Is there a character that you have done that was overly complex, or that you're thinking about doing, but it's still very intimidating because of how complex it is? Is there anything like that?
I'm working on Goblin Slayer right now, and that helmet has so many curves and edges.
Yeah.
But there's so many other Goblin Slayer cosplays I've found on Instagram, and luckily they're all so nice to share their knowledge with me. So hopefully that'll be my best prop yet.
Yeah, Tracer from Overwatch has been my biggest and most entailed cosplay that I have done yet. I started it around a little earlier than this time last year. I was finishing it around this time last year, and it involved patterning, which is when you figure out the shapes for your fabric and foam that you will then combine into a finished pants, jacket, armor piece, whatever. And then sewing foam. Tracer was my first dive into fabricating with EVA foam, which is like the squishy floor mats that you can get at Harbor Freight, or stuff that you stand on so your feet don't hurt.
Yeah.
So if you drop your kid, your kid doesn't break.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't get too messed up.
Yeah.
Cody's house was covered in that one.
That was
My car's covered in it right now. I can't see on my windshield.
very intimidating. I did all the sewing first because that was what I was very comfortable with, and then watched, I call him Foam Sensei, a bunch of Evil Ted Smith's YouTube videos on how you make foam armor. And that foam sat in my workshop for about a month while I stared at it and was afraid of it.
Again, someone should really get on that.
Was there any cosplay that or any character that you just stopped partway through, or that you had bought stuff for and you were just like,
I don't want to fucking do this.
nah, never mind, or transformed it into something different? Or
I think that's definitely, again, like kind of a big like difference between different cosplayers and their personalities. Like me with my personality, I know if I buy something, like, nah, we're gonna finish that. Like, I will, like, I don't have discipline in a lot of areas of my life, but if I spend money on cosplay supplies, they are going to become a costume. And I will not start another costume until I finish the one that I'm on.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's a very good mentality. I recently tried to learn to knit, and the first day I tried to make a slip knot to go on the needle, and I could not get it to work right, so I threw it down for a week. And then picked it back up.
I mean, I've walked away.
I think I went back to it. I tried doing it, still failed, and now I'm on a crochet, so we'll see how that goes.
There you go.
Another question I had, what you said earlier about traveling with people, like, what's sort of been like your experience, like getting into the cosplay community, and like what have you learned? Is like sort of like what are your experience with that? Just like growing and meeting and traveling and just encountering all these different people.
I guess like for me, like when I talked about my nerd repression years where I wasn't doing nerdy things, I felt like I was kind of sitting on the sidelines a lot because I would still look at cosplayers and think like, oh, this is so cool, but that was all I was like consuming other people's creations. And so then I was like, I'm full of like eating, basically feeding on other people's art, and it was just it got to be very depressing because then I'm a very creative person and I wasn't creating my own things. I was just like absorbing everything that everyone else had created and being like, oh, that's so cool, but I wasn't doing it myself. And so for me, cosplay became like, I want to participate in this community. I want to contribute to this community. And with traveling for conventions, like we do a lot of local conventions because it's more cost effective.
Yeah.
But you see other people on social media or online posting, oh, I went to this convention and we're going to this convention, and they're across the country and they look like paradise. And so you kind of start making plans to like buy plane tickets and fly to this convention, or hey, let's do a road trip to this convention and like the next state over, and you just kind of start slowly branching out further and further. Like the farthest away I've been is still just one state out of Alabama. I have not flown to a convention yet, but maybe one day.
Never flown. I mean, Fort Lauderdale was pretty far.
It was still in Florida.
Oh, down the
bottom of Florida.
We tried peninsula.
Basically another state.
Practically another country down there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What is the one? What do you like? No, I don't know. What is the one cosplay or character that would be the one to end all of them? Like, if this was it, like this is it. Like, if you died, like you're happy. This is awesome. Like the cosplay to end all cosplays.
Took such a turn.
Yeah, I know.
I guess like what he's trying to say, like what would be like your like
Dream
cosplay. Mine's right off bat. I want to do something from Mobile Suit Gundam. I've thought about doing Char's Red Zaku, and also the real big one would be doing the Wing Zero from the Endless Waltz movie with the big angel wings and everything, because that's where I got my nickname, and it's just my favorite Gundam in the whole franchise.
That would look sick.
Yeah,
That also sounds very complicated.
Oh yeah.
I look at it as like I love this Gundam, and I think about cosplaying. It's like, and the anxiety is sitting in.
Yeah, I guess for me, just because like every cosplay that I do, I like it's part of my heart and soul. Like they're all kind of my dream cosplays, and so I kind of am now like picking like, oh, I'll do a few smaller, quote, easier cosplays, and then I'll like maybe have one really big build that I'll do for the year. But I don't have like one that I'm kind of like holding up and like putting off or anything, because when I think of one that I want to do, I'm just like, let's do it. So
I understand. Everyone's like kind of like it's like you love all your children equally.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Except for
I
that one
don't.
redheaded one.
Yeah, Pat.
Poor Patrick. He gets you. Wait, it's Itachi actually. We were talking about earlier. We were talking about the different skills that we each individually have, or that not we. I mean, I you know what I'm saying. That everyone that you kind of build as you go along. What is your next skill, I should say, or what skill are you kind of working on now? and like what's a skill that you have that's in kind of progress or what you want to learn in the future to improve your cosplay, and what's one that you feel like you pretty much you're not mastered necessarily, but you got pretty
Or the one like you're most proud of developing.
Most proud of, yeah.
Most proud of, I'd have hands down foam work. That was how I really started getting back into cosplay. Just cutting foam, gluing it. Sewing is kind of like my middle area right now. I feel like I got the basic skill of sewing down. It's like you put the needle down here and you get the fabric through. And when the needle starts moving, you cry for 30 minutes. But wig styling is my next big challenge. I would really like to learn how to make a good wig that isn't like a rug sitting on my head.
Yeah, you got to steal a lot of hair.
I just want to go to people at cons and just like shave off their hair.
I like your hair.
I need this.
Excuse me, hair cutters. I need one bag of hair, please.
What do they do with it? They just sweep it up.
Throw it in the garbage.
No, they don't. They
Get some
keep it.
get some crazy glue and go to town.
Ooh, yeah, that's hard. I mean, I guess I'd definitely say sewing is my most comfortable, but it's probably the one I enjoy the least because it can be so tedious. And sewing machines are kind of known for doing this thing that one of my cosplay friends calls bastarding. And bastarding is when your sewing machine just starts messing up for no reason and you spend the next hour trying to figure out and troubleshoot why it won't sew.
That's scary.
I'm always
Yeah,
afraid.
it's horrible.
I'm always afraid that a sewing machine is going to destroy my hand.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you can sew through your finger, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Excuse me.
Hold on, that feeds into this question. Have you ever suffered an injury making a cosplay?
yes.
Or like, what's the worst one?
When I was making Junkrat's arm, he's got I put little foam bits on the glove, and I didn't really have like a hand model or anything like to put into the glove, so I put my hand in this glove, this nylon glove, and I hot glued armor directly to my hand. I had blisters.
dedication.
Yeah. I will never redo that glove. I mean, I'll redo a lot of other parts of Junkrat, but that glove.
That glove stays.
That stays. I want to be buried with that glove.
So spoiler alert, no, his prosthetic arm for Junkrat is real.
We're actually planning to chop off his leg so that he can just have a legit peg leg.
He's a method actor, just like Charlize Theron did for her character in Fury Road.
Yeah.
yes.
I like, as someone that like just loves making their own costumes, I have this thing that I kind of spitefully say to myself. I say it's a costume and it's not a cosplay until it has your blood on it somewhere.
Yes, the ritual sacrifice.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
christening
like
it.
you must. I think like probably the worst thing that I can think of is I was cutting fabric and I've heard of people doing this and I was always like, how would you, that's stupid. How would you do that? But I cut my finger with scissors. Like, felt the scissors literally cut my flesh.
I'm in pain.
It was horrible.
The bodily cringes at this table.
Yeah, like, I'm like moving all my fingers around like, all right, boys are still safe.
But see, I've done that before too, where I've like cut like my finger from just cut. I don't remember what I was cutting, but I've done that, and I still think like, how do you fucking do that? I've done that.
That's why I use child safety scissors or a butter knife.
Oh man, yeah. So whenever you once it's finished, you just cut yourself to get all your blood on it. Yeah, christen it.
Yep. It's,
Okay.
you
Play
know,
some
like
ninjutsu from
literally, like
Naruto.
whenever it happens, you just smash that
ninjutsu.
blood right into the fabric, smear it on the armor like Rafiki on Simba. I don't know where I'm going with that.
It all makes sense to me. I get it.
No, it does. It really does.
Something Dragon Con, Lion King, Disney. There we go. We've solved the problem.
Yeah. So if you want to get into cosplay, watch Lion King. I think, and I think this will be our final question. If you
Do you speak for all of us, really?
no, but I think it's a good question to go out on.
No, go
Plus,
ahead.
I'm really
I'll
smart.
allow
so.
it. Since I'm controlling this.
If somebody was listening to this and was like, "Man, I really want to get into cosplay. I just don't know how." What would be the one piece of advice you would give them first?
Just don't worry about. I feel like judgment and ridicule is something that keeps a lot of people from trying cosplay. Because, like one thing Sarah said, it's like you're like, "Oh, I really would like to try to cosplay this character," and you do a Google search and you see these amazing cosplays, like, oh, well, they've already done the best version of myself. Don't let that keep you from doing something you could have fun with, because that's, to the nitty gritty, that's what cosplay is all about. It's about having fun. Dress up as your favorite character and just have fun at a con, or have fun in your room playing Fortnite on Twitch. Just dress up. And it's like, you see something, it's like, how would I make that? Just YouTube. YouTube is the greatest teacher the world has ever given us.
Yeah, and for me, it's I actually recently saw a quote that I really liked about kind of like getting started on anything that you want to do, and it's start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. So don't let like that kind of like negative inner voice of like, you don't know how to do that, you don't have the supplies you need to do that, you don't have the space to do that. Like, don't talk yourself out of doing something that you want to do. Like, literally just like, I follow teenagers on Instagram that are amazing cosplayers, and they're like down in their parents' basement cutting up their mother's fur-lined jacket to use on a barbarian cosplay, and their axe is made out of cardboard, and it's like the most beautiful thing that I've seen. Like, one girl, I always, like, I cannot talk about her enough, because she made a Soldier 76 jacket from Overwatch out of colored duct tape.
Oh, wow.
She didn't know how to sew, didn't want to, like, of course, have the money to go and buy a ton of faux leather in red, white, and blue, and she had duct tape, and it's like the coolest thing. Like, it is literally an entire jacket out of duct tape. Like, you can make art, you can make cosplay out of literally anything that you have. People make armor out of pizza boxes, and it looks amazing. So it's just take what you love and start doing it.
So you're telling me the $200 I spent on yarn and knitting needles, just I should have just started with...
You got cables right here.
Damn it.
I want a scarf made out of microphone cables.
You inspired me.
Well, thank you, both of you, Zero and Sarah, for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Go ahead and plug whatever you have. What cons you guys are showing up at this year, where people can meet you if they're going to be there and stuff like that.
Ooh, man, we have a lot of cons this year. Man, we're both going to be at Comic-Con coming up. We should like talk to Comic-Con about endorsing Magic City Con, maybe Hamicon.
We're going to MobyCon this year. That'll be our first time going to that one down in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah. If you like me, don't totally hate me, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Morris World, MORRISS World, like Wayne's World, on Instagram, and you can probably find me on Facebook too.
And if you want to follow me and see what kind of shenanigans I get into, you follow me at Instagram at justcallme0. And that's 0 with the number 0 at the end of it. Because the other person with the regular handle won't get back to me.
That was like me. I had the issue recently where I found somebody with the Twitter handle just at Tanner, and I was like, I really want that. And they haven't tweeted in like 2 years. But
Same. This account is... It's a ghost.
So I'm waiting for Twitter to just purge a bunch of accounts.
I'm waiting
going
for Instagram
to hop
to do that
on
too.
it. Well, thank you everybody for listening to this week's episode of All You Can Hear podcast. As always, we are on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Podcast, Overcast, Spotify, pretty much everything podcast is on. You just search it. But if you're listening to this, you know that. So leave us a like, a review, a subscription, a rating, all that good stuff helps us out tremendously. Right now, we are hosting, we're technically hosting it, the best anime OPs of all time tournament. The nomination form is live. It's our pin tweet on Twitter at AYCH Podcast. You can click on that. You can nominate. You have to do a minimum of 4 OPs, but up to 8. But the form doesn't close till March 1st, so you still have plenty of time if you're listening to this today and like, oh my God, I have to listen to 1,000 openings. You have plenty of time, so don't stress about it. And you can follow us on Instagram, AYCH Podcast. We got Pat doing some amazing godly things on our Instagram, things I could never even fathom.
Our characters are so good. Pat does a fantastic job.
Pat
with
does
our
a fantastic job, but it's funny because I know like a trick artists have. They'll draw people and like the same shirt sometimes just to like make them recognizable, and I'm like, damn, I wear that fucking blue shirt all the fucking time that Pat draws me in.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to wear it as much. And you can follow us on twitch.tv/AllYouCanHear. If you're listening to this on Monday, Colt and Wenzel will actually be live tonight and all of this week playing tonight.
Except Friday. Don't lie to
Except
them.
Friday. Excuse me. Monday through Thursday. Tonight they will be finishing Metro 2033, and starting tomorrow, Tuesday, they will be streaming Metro Last Light Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So definitely keep up with that. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Tanner1495.
I am Colt. You can follow me on Twitter at ColtD00. Come in, have some fun on Twitch later tonight. If you drop by, just say hi. Don't lurk in the chat. You can lurk in the chat if you want to, but just talk to me, please. It's hard. It's kind of hard to work with just Wenzel and me.
Oh wow, Dick!
You suck.
We have to keep them in separate Twitch boxes, so they fuss and fight so much.
Yeah, they can't talk to each other till they stream, and then we like just let the wall up.
Just that rolling sound of like a rolling door, like a garage door.
There's an alarm.
Doritos are ready.
My name is Coffin Cody, and you can follow me at CODDOC11. That's CODDOC11 on Twitter and Instagram.
I'm Wenzel. Thank you for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at Winsy Wilkie. You can follow my art Instagram at World of Winsy. Thank you for listening again, and thank you for keeping up with the Metro stream. And again, we're going to be doing that tonight. And if you want to catch up, I guess, on Metro, watch our streams, even though we're talking a lot and we don't know what's happening most of the time. So, yeah.
They are the utmost authority on the Metro series. I'm saying it right now. No one on this planet knows more about Metro than Colton Wenzel.
In English, every Metro expert is Russian.
Yeah, that's true. Everybody in Russia knows way more about Metro than Colton Wenzel. But Colton Wenzel, as far as two guys from Central Alabama, you're not going to find a better expert.
So if you want to get caught up on that before Metro Exodus, watch our streams.
This is Patrick. Thank you for listening. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at John Lost His Name. You can follow my art on Facebook at John Lost His Name Art.
Again, thank you, Sarah and Zero, for joining us today. Round of applause.
Thank you.
I can't clap. And bye. Yeah.
Bye.